Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of Gorilla Town hang on to hold out on the western Monarch's Bluff. KOTT news crews caught up with company leadership after payouts to discuss the tough fight. Congratulations on your victory here in Monarch's Bluff. They were in the fort with about 16 minutes to go and only really gave you one big serious push at about the 3.5-minute mark. Would you care to take us through any pivotal moments you thought you had out there?
Thank you, John. I really appreciate that, by the way, and I also want to say a shout out to John just because he's an amazing person. I absolutely love his content. At the same time, we did it pretty well outside of fort. We held them off for a while. We got some what's called serious, deaths on the sides, and then weren't able to return the point. So got shoved back into fort, and then we were able to hold fort off pretty well. I was able to see everything inside the fort pretty well to send my players to whichever side gates. So we did really well in the fort.
Well, I know you gave a shout out to your entire army. Was there anybody who was particularly good at following instructions tonight?
Not gonna lie. I absolutely saw some monsters in Hutchie's group. Hutchie and Kill Squad were freaking crazy. Dropping down on B gate for me like that, like some soldiers, that was awesome. So shout out to them 100%.
Well, do you have any ambitions for expanding beyond the region that you have now?
Negative. We were able to get these walls cleaned up a little bit. We're trying to expand a little bit more possibly, but we're not sure here. We're going to have to defend some of our territories for a little bit longer before we start making plans.
That wasn't the only action last night, as Eternum's own Rippity hosted a PvP event on the beaches north of Moon Bay in Restless Shore. Preliminary King of the Hill ladder qualifiers were held as refugees from all over the island turned out to test their mettle against the island's strongest. The fighting went on all night as participants jockeyed for position. Keep an eye out for Rippity advertising next week's event and recruitment chat. In open world news, KOTT were out in Brightwood taking shots for tonight's report when we ran into 2 new refugees. Be on the lookout for these 2 ambitious new arrivals to the island who are looking for combat. Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Season 1 track, last night's action was enough to get us within striking distance of the finish line. Stay tuned for the exciting conclusion coming soon. Last night's invasion forces were able to breach Castle Restless Shore and lay siege to Moon Bay. Regional infrastructure was severely impacted. Citizens wishing to help in reconstruction efforts during the afternoon are encouraged to register at the Moon Bay Mission Board before tonight's northern cold fronts descend from the mountains, bringing an additional 40% chance of corruption invasion again tonight. 2 more submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of Emotional Damage attack the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. The forces of Emotional Damage are beginning to learn that some names you just can't go back to as they attempt to gather more vowels in the backwoods of Brightwood. JDB's Kitchen didn't bother to respond to the subterfuge in Brimstone, but surely their schedule isn't so full that they would walk away from their only fight on the island tonight. Meanwhile, the Marauders of Gorilla Town assail the Syndicate members of I'm Going to Bed for control of the crocodile-infested mangroves of Cutlass Keys. Gorilla Town believe their blockade preventing trade out of Cutlass Keys has weakened the Syndicate to the point that they can now squeeze them out and gain the entire southern peninsula. But the forces of I'm Going to Bed have more than one of the top 10 company names of all time. They also have a roster of 50 that can show up and hold things down. But will they show up? Or will they be in bed? Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.